Hi guys, my name is Sam. If you've not seen me before, I'm usually one of the behind the scene guys that make stuff happen. But today I'm in front of the camera talking to you about the live stream and some of our plans for going live again in 2022. The live stream by now, I'm sure, is nothing new to you. We've actually been streaming in one form or another every week since October 2017. So that's actually over 4 solid years. And of course, the stream saw us through the pandemic with all the lockdowns. And looking back on that, it was pretty amazing that we had all the tech ready at just the right time. It really felt like there was just something of God's timing and provision in that. And then last summer, we made the live stream private just to help get us back to church, to wean us off the tech, get us out of isolation and get us back to seeing one another again. It definitely worked, and it's been really beautiful seeing the church slowly but surely regather. And there's just been a real hunger in the room when we've been together, a real hunger to sing, to worship, to pray. It just feels like we're very much approaching a fresh new era as a church, a new beginning with so much potential. But we want to do more than just regather, I'm sure. As 2022 approaches, there's new opportunity for forward motion, to love our town and to reach out to them with the good news message of Jesus. So, what does a live stream look like in 2022? Should we even have one? Where does it fit? And is there a healthy way of doing it alongside real church where it could be an effective tool for outreach? That's what this video is all about. We plan to go live again in the early part of 2022. And this video is just going to go into the details, the finer point of how it's going to work and what we hope to achieve with it. It'll be a little bit different from what we've done before. So if you're interested in church and technology and telling people about Jesus, stay tuned. The reason for producing this video isn't just to keep you informed, but to invite your questions. We've done our best to think this thing through as best we can, but we may not have thought of literally everything. So if you have got a question that doesn't get addressed here, we'll give you some contact details where you can send those questions in. But to start, a little bit of philosophy, the thought process behind the stream. Very simply, the main reason for doing a live stream is to give a first experience to local people who would never normally set foot in a church, to make it very accessible and non-threatening, to hopefully introduce them to the gospel and the fact that God is alive and well and very present in our lives. In the spirit of Matthew 5, it's a 21st century way of putting a lamp on a stand to give light to everyone around. We don't want to hide our light under a basket or in a big tin warehouse where we're just here for ourselves. We want the light to be visible, to reach people we wouldn't otherwise reach. So that's the main one, that's the big thing we're shooting for. And then secondly, we want to make the church accessible to those who are already following Jesus but can't experience church in any other way. We all experienced what that was like through the pandemic, but for some, that sort of isolation is a permanent reality due to chronic illness. In 2017, when we actually first started streaming just as a really casual experiment, we had a bunch of people reconnect with us who used to come to King's, but due to ongoing illness, couldn't physically make it. So the stream became a bit of a lifeline to them, and we realized at that point there's actually a need for this sort of thing and that we shouldn't unplug it. It really is a local thing we're shooting for. We want to reach people down the road and round the corner, people within arm's reach who we could actually meet in person or grab a coffee with, people we could invite to church or Alpha or other things going on at King's. The people we're going to be most effective at reaching is the people right around us who we've got so much more traction with. So we want to make the stream feel very local, very Eastbourne, and just to celebrate our town, which is not hard considering how unbelievably blessed we are to live in such a beautiful place. If we also happen to reach people from around the globe, that's a bonus, but it's not really our main aim. If that does happen, we'd love to push them towards a good local church, if there is one near them. In this, what we're shooting for is not hundreds or thousands of views on our stream, but to just have a good handful of visitors each week. If we had, say, 20 or 30 local people connecting with us every Sunday, that would honestly be amazing, with the hope that some would get drawn into conversation, to church gatherings, and to things like Alpha. We have seen this dynamic work even in the early days when we just had a really basic stream on Facebook. Friends will get invited, experience a bit of church, say things like, oh, King's isn't actually that weird, and come on a Sunday. And that is a total win, exactly what we're looking for. We've also had people sign up to Alpha purely off the back of seeing baptisms we've shared online and that sort of thing. So the hope is that we would simply see more of this sort of thing taking place. If the live stream can be on the same sort of level as our Alpha course in helping people to find Jesus, that would be amazing. It is still an experiment though, because it's not yet fully tried and tested. When we go live again, this will actually be the first time we've run a public live stream alongside real church gatherings. So it'll be really interesting to see how things operate when reality kicks in, when concept moves to real life operations. A wise man once said that the only constant is change. So no doubt the stream will constantly evolve and develop as we work out better ways of doing things, of connecting and engaging with people and just gaining traction there. So we're really looking forward to it. But if we do run it for a couple of years and for whatever reason it doesn't quite work out, if the cons outweigh the pros, if too many people stay home watching church in their pajamas instead of coming on Sunday, we'll probably cut our losses, end the stream, and we'll just put our efforts into something else. As much as I like cameras and technology and playing around with those sorts of things, I don't want to have it written on my gravestone, you know, something like lunatic enthusiasts, love tech, love cameras, inadvertently killed church. Not really what I'm after. So if you're one of those people tempted to stay home and just watch a live stream instead of actually coming on a Sunday, try and resist that temptation. Just use it when your kids are sick or you're sick or you just can't physically make it to church that day. But with all of those potential hazards considered, I still think this technology is really worth looking into. The technology we've been blessed with in our day and age is truly remarkable. They're absolutely jaw-dropping when you think about what's been available to the church over the last 2,000 years. The development of high-speed internet, of smartphones, of affordable cameras, and platforms like YouTube has all developed in unison. John Mark Comer, in his book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry, likens these developments to the invention of the printing press back in the 15th century. When the history books are written, he writes, they will point to 2007 as an inflection point on par with 1440. And 1440, of course, was the year Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press, which set the stage for the Protestant Reformation and the Enlightenment, which together transformed the world. That whole book is just a really fantastic read, incredibly insightful and reflects loads on communication and media and technology. And this is from his chapter on a brief history of speed. Definitely read it if you can. Just as a side note, if you're not so much of a reader but are still interested in this sort of thing, how technology is shaping our lives and our children's lives, and is very much engineered to reprogram our behaviors, check out The Social Dilemma, The Great Hack, or Screened Out. They're all on Netflix or YouTube, and they're all well worth a watch. They do reveal the actual quite dark side of how technology can be designed and implemented. And it really contrasts with the printing press, where one of the first things hot off the press was the Bible, which is a really beautiful use of technology. It eventually meant that we could all own our own copy, read it for ourselves, and it actually changed church history. It allows guys like Martin Luther to preach the gospel of grace, that it's a free gift and it cannot be earned. On a personal note, as a guy whose job centers on communication and how we use technology, I definitely feel a sense and even a responsibility that from everyone who has been given much, much will be demanded. We've been dropped on the timeline in the 21st century with an absolute abundance of technology. And it's just a sense that maybe, just maybe, we're meant to use it, to engineer this stuff, to problem solve, and figure out if it can help us execute the Great Commission. There's a lot of things involved in the Great Commission, but communication and resourcing is definitely in there. And it's just something of Acts 17 about all of this. We're told that God has appointed the exact times and places in history where people will live, so they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him. We live in an age where people are asking the big questions just as much as they ever were. And in this internet-saturated landscape, for better or worse, they're quite literally typing them into Google. This little clip from the Alpha film series captures it quite well, asking where do you go when you have big life questions?
I go on Google.
I definitely Google.
I go on Wikipedia.
Internet.
I scroll through all the different answers and then I try and combine it and then make my own kind of like cornerstone.
I get most of my answers from the library in any section there because I don't really trust the people that I'm around.
The key is always to yourself. You got to figure some things out for yourself.
But when it's something more personal, I try to find it within myself first.
God has placed us in 21st century Eastbourne. And I just feel like in the parable of the talents, we are the guy that gets given the most. We are the guy that gets given 5. We just want to do something more than just bury it in the ground. We'll try and use it and see if we can get a return on that investment. But obviously there is a bit of an art to it. Things don't just fall into place. People have written whole books on church and technology and how perhaps maybe it should or shouldn't work. It's not hard to see misuse or incorrect use where tech is put right at the center, where it creates something that looks great on the outside, has a big reach, but can be fundamentally quite shallow and dysfunctional. We're definitely not looking to do that. Just as a real simple framework, sort of my own way of thinking through church and technology, I think that when tech replaces things, when it reduces experience or distances people, that's when it's bad and that's when it's church gone wrong. But when it acts like a bonus extra, when it gives you something you wouldn't otherwise have and does something you can otherwise do, that's where you've hit the sweet spot. That's where it opens up so much potential for good. I don't know if that just made sense. So, examples. When I FaceTime my brother in Canada, it's amazing. It makes me feel like they're just in a room next door, when not so long ago, before the internet, it would have taken weeks for a letter to arrive. The world just got smaller in this sense, and technology has actually brought us closer. It's just done something that has never before existed, that was previously impossible. So that definitely gets the thumbs up. But deciding, for example, to have a video recording at church every week instead of a real person preaching, we'd definitely lose something, even if it was efficient. That preacher can't see you or feel you. They can't sense the atmosphere in the room or see your expressions. There's no responsiveness or interactivity. So you've definitely reduced preaching to something less, replaced a person with a screen, and put distance between the preacher and the actual congregation of the church. So it's not ideal. Not to say that it's always wrong, but we would definitely think carefully before doing that sort of thing on a regular basis. Changing tack though to a positive example, when I think of my own walk with Jesus, all the hundreds of sermons I've listened to over the years, all the books I've read, of the apps, the podcasts, the YouTube videos, all of these have definitely added into my walk, to my understanding of the Bible and how amazing the gospel is. If I didn't have access to any of those things, I think my younger self would probably not have done anything else that productive, probably would have just played more guitar or video games or whatever. So in this sense, tech never replaced anything of church, it just added to it. And that's a sort of zone, the sort of sweet spot where you want the live stream to land, where it just gives you something extra, a way of catching up, a way of sharing and inviting friends. That's perhaps a bridge between a first taste and actually coming on a Sunday. But anyway, I probably talked way too long on all of this stuff. I tend to geek out on the kind of the philosophical stuff. It's really interesting. But anyway, back to some practical things. Okay, going live again, a few details. We're planning to open things up again and go live in the new year. And all that's really going to change is, instead of our stream being an unlisted video hosted on a password protected web page, it will now be a public video, just as it was all the way through the pandemic. So nothing new, no dramas, that really is it. It won't actually be that different. It'll just be open and available for more people to watch and join us. There is one little tweak though we're going to make, and that's to make it a live only experience, 100% live. Remember in the old days where you couldn't actually pause or rewind TV, like if you were watching a football match live, it was just totally live. And if you miss part of it, you just miss part of it. And that's what we're going to do with the live stream, make it a live only experience. The reason for this, we just want to make the stream much more forgiving, like real church, where you can't rewind and rewatch things. So if someone makes a mistake, someone brings a contribution that perhaps doesn't come out quite right, you want to lose the ability to rewind and rewatch those moments. If you look at the stats over the last couple of years, the vast majority of people watch live anyway, so I don't think we'll be losing much. It's just that safety net for people. If you say something wrong, or the guitarist plays the wrong chord or whatever, those moments don't need to be recorded forever. And that's really important because we don't want to lose any of those spontaneous moments. We don't want to stifle the prophetic words, the prayers, the stories, and these kinds of contributions. Those are the things that we actually really want to come through on the live stream. The presence and closeness of God, that he's real and that he's with us, that he speaks and we hear him, and that we pray and he answers prayers. That's the very thing we want to expose people to. So we hope this little adjustment just helps safeguard that. And for anyone who's actually bringing a contribution on a Sunday, hopefully it's just reassuring knowing it's only really a handful of people watching online. It's something we can really quantify, know how many people have watched it, and there's no rewinding and replaying things or capturing and sharing. Regarding contributions, we do have a practice of going to a wide shot where you can't see the person speaking. Again, just a little safety measure. You can only hear the audio. And in ministry time, when people stand or raise their hand in response to something in the meeting, like a request for prayer, we go close to those on stage so that no one can actually see who's responding to what in the room. Again, we hope this is just an added protection, a layer of sensitivity. And if there is any need to go offline with the stream during the meeting, perhaps there's a story or some sort of sensitive information being shared, the meeting leader can request the stream to go offline. We'll switch the live stream to a playlist of videos, perhaps promos, stories, things like that. And then we'll radio down to the camera guys who will give the meeting leader the thumbs up. And that'll maybe take 10 seconds. We have done this in the past, but it is something we rarely do. Usually if something's a bit sensitive, sharing it in front of 500 people in the main hall is usually too many people anyway, but we are prepared if we need to do this sort of thing. If the live only thing was a bit of a thumbs down for you, we are actually allowing a 24-hour catch up for church members. In the same way, we'll put it as an unlisted video and we'll stick it on a password protected web page. The good thing about YouTube is that it's very easy to edit content directly online. So if there is a little bit of something that needs cutting out, we can do that quite quickly before it's ready to rewatch. As it is so easy to edit, we've recently taken up the practice of posting the preach on YouTube directly after the service, just taken out of the live stream and posted there public for anyone to watch. So it's easier than ever to catch up with the teaching. When it comes to who we're shooting on a Sunday morning, the cameras are very much focused on the stage. We don't zoom in on anyone in the congregation. If we can see your face, it's only usually on the wide shot where your face is teeny tiny, or otherwise we can see the backs of heads. If you do happen to turn around in front of a live camera, you may be captured on the stream, but this is usually incidental and momentary. It's good to remember though that church on a Sunday morning is more or less a public space, as we're open to pretty much anyone to come in and join us for our service. In such spaces, there's no permission or permits needed to film or photograph. It's sort of in the same way that if you go to a wedding, you would just expect to be captured in the photographs and the wedding video. And if you walk down the high street in town, you may be in the background of someone's photo or video, or even if there's a news report being filmed, you might actually be included in the background there. So it's similar to that sort of thing. All of that should be fine and normal. It's well within UK law and it's all what we're used to. If you do want a safe zone though, if you've got foster kids perhaps and you just want to be super vigilant, the left-hand side of the main hall as you come into it is well away from any cameras and you won't be seen or captured there. In this example with the foster kids, if you actually wanted to tell a story to the church which includes them, or if there was a scenario where they would be on the stage, we can switch the stream to that offline moment we talked about, so they're not included in any way. So you can just ask the meeting leaders about that if it's something you want to do. Again, do ask us questions. If you have them, we'd love to think things through as much as we possibly can. So yeah, get in touch. We'll give you the details at the end. Okay, retaining a developing week. There is nothing in the rulebook that says you have to live stream every single Sunday. We may well choose to retain at least 1 week a month for training and development of those who serve our church so well. So this could include worship leaders, musicians, sound engineers, and camera operators. This would be a week where it's just a bit lower pressure and we're not sort of live to the world as it's sometimes phrased. Having a week offline might not be a bad thing. A little bit of disruption could actually be an opportunity to push people to real church gatherings. You'll sort of present them with an opportunity to either come and engage in person or just be without church that 1 week. For those who are in that category who they rely on the stream and literally can't come to church, we'll still provide you with a password where you can watch online. It might be a bit more ropey, but you'll still be able to join us for church. And that's a good little segue into our production values. If you've been watching the stream, you'll be very familiar with how it looks and sounds. And we're just going to continue on in that vein. I'm actually really pleased with what we've been able to put together on a tight budget. It's not super high end or anything. It's not got amazing lighting or loads of expensive cameras. As much as I might like those things, I just know that that's not the thing that's going to change people's lives. The secular world is actually saturated with this type of content. YouTube is full of incredibly well-produced music videos, and just producing more of that type of content wouldn't be the answer anyway. Production obviously has to be good to a point, so it's not like nails down a chalkboard. It's not super clunky and actually embarrassing to watch. It has to be watchable, so it's just not a massive distraction. But the real thing that's on display is the substance of our faith, the very real work of Jesus in our lives. This comes through in the stories we tell, the testimony of transformed lives. It's the prayers we pray, the preachers we preach, the contributions we bring, and the way we worship together. The production is hopefully of a good enough standard that you actually forget about it. It's hopefully good enough, though, that it gives a good representation of what's happening in the room, of what it sounds like to be there. It will never be as good, which is the way it should be. But yeah, production, confident with where it is. Hope you enjoy it. It's functional. We're not in any danger of it being about that or it stealing the show. If you happen to know someone who's got an interest in these areas, or you are that person yourself, interested in things like vision mixing and sound engineering, camera operation, all that sort of thing, definitely get in touch with me because I'd love to get you involved. You can email me directly at sam.arnold@kings.church. Teenagers are very welcome in this. We've had loads of teenagers serve to date. From the age of 14 upwards, they've all been great. They don't actually need to be a church member or a Christian to do these roles. If they're just interested in media and tech and want to get involved, they are extremely welcome. And you can use that exact same email to send through any questions you might have. If you've got something we didn't touch on here, just let us know. We'd love to be able to answer some of those questions. Okay, welcome to my slightly messy office. Sorry I didn't tidy up for you guys. I'm actually just finishing off the edit on this computer here, and it's over 20 minutes already, so I'm just gonna end what I was talking about. Had so many more things to discuss, but you know, too much content, just going to end it there. Obviously the good thing about, if there was a good thing about the pandemic, is that it's taken the fear out of live streaming, as churches everywhere have sort of been doing it every single week. So I think we're a lot more used to it now than we were before it all happened. So you maybe just be in a space where you're like, yeah, live stream, whatever, just do it. If you have got any questions though, let us know. Really don't know what to expect. If we get inundated with loads and loads of questions, we may do another video or an afternoon or evening Q&A session, or if we just get one or two, we might just respond in person to you. So anyway, got some questions, let us know. Otherwise, I hope you've enjoyed the little journey we've been on. Good to know we've got tech like this with pandemics at large. Hopefully all the lockdowns and stuff are behind us now. Famous last words. Anyway, thanks guys, thanks for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for sticking with it. Cheers.